Okay, so I delayed making this video for a little while, by which I mean like almost 2 days, because I wanted to see what happened at the trade deadline, because the Blue Jays hadn't done anything, and then we got into today, and I'm like, the Blue Jays still haven't done anything, I'll wait, and now it is 6:26, so I think at this point we can safely say the Blue Jays have done some things, and we'll talk about those things in this video, so let's get it. First, the game the other afternoon, Blue Jays win 4-1 in the final game of a 4-game set at Skydome before the team leaves for a day off where they had a nice kind of pool party vibes situation where Jose Barrios and George Springer are apparently actually neighbors, so they just kind of like connected their backyards into a giant kind of party zone. I can't wait for some of the pictures. I doubt we'll get pictures. Anyway, apparently they had a really fun team bonding party, and that's great, while they get to wait around and see what the team does for the trade deadline. So in this game, this was a pretty low event game, which when you're playing the Tigers who can't hit very much, that's kind of the way you like them. The Blue Jays did just enough with another home run from Matt Chapman. This guy is absolutely en fuego right now. It's fantastic. And RBI doubles from Vladdy and Bo. You love to see that. Crisp defense that gave the Tigers nothing they didn't earn. A really nice starting pitching performance from Jose Barrios, who is starting to level out, looking a little bit more like the guy that we acquired last year. Maybe he's just kind of a late bloomer every season and he likes to pitch late in the season as opposed to early. That's actually pretty nice. I prefer that, I think. And a great performance by the bullpen, although they didn't have a whole lot to do. The Jays, as a whole, I think retired the last 15 batters that they faced. Not too shabby. So, pitching, defense, and timely hitting. Where have I heard that before? That seems to be the recipe for winning a classic baseball game that isn't like mammoth blowout like in Boston or a cliff-hanging nail-biter like we saw a lot at the beginning of the year. No, this is just score a few runs, hold the other guys to 1 or 2, watch the wins roll in. It seems like a pretty good formula. That win put the Blue Jays at 12 games over the 500 mark, which is the best situation, or tied for the best situation they've been in all year. 12 wins above the 500 mark was the high water mark before. And then we kind of like had a bit of a roller coaster since then, including that disastrous Seattle trip, but we have recovered from that. We are now all the way out of that hole. We are back to being in the best position we could possibly be going in for the trade deadline. So Ross, you absolutely should invest in this team because they're looking the best they've ever looked all year. What do you got? Well, well, it's kind of like that bit from 10 Things I Hate About You. That's a movie that existed like 20 years ago. Jesus, I need new references. Anyway, in that movie, one of the girls says, I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? And one of the other girls says, I think you can in Europe. Actually a fantastic line and very well delivered. Really good movie. I really enjoyed it. Go ahead and watch it if you haven't. But whatever. Whelmed. That's about right. We're in New York right here because we are whelmed. Going into this trade deadline, it was pretty clear what the needs of the team were. People said that we needed a left-handed bat. I was never on that train. I think the offense is fine. You don't even touch it. You also don't need a big-name marquee starting pitcher because at this point, our pitching rotation is going to be Alek Manoah, Kevin Gausman, and Jose Barrios in some order. If you need a fourth guy, Ross Stripling. But, I mean, unless you're going to get somebody who's better than one of those 4 guys, and that would cost a lot to get someone better than those guys at this point, no, those are your guys. And it's really going to be the first 3. There's a great case to be made that you really don't need 4 starters in the playoffs unless someone gets hurt. But what the Blue Jays did absolutely 100% need was big heat, 100-mile-an-hour plus, swing and miss stuff for a reliever. Yes, the bullpen right now has exactly one of those. Closer Jordan Romano. That's not to disparage the guys we have. My love affair with Jimmy Garcia is well known. Adam Simber, Tim Meza, David Phelps, these guys have been really solid for us all year long. But they don't have that big heat, that swing and miss stuff to get the key strikeout late in a close game when you really need it. And it seems more and more that if you want to go deep in the playoffs, you need those guys. And in bulk. You can't just have 1 or 2. You need a few of them. So coming into this trade deadline, that was the shopping list. 1 or 2 or maybe more big-armed relievers and some kind of starting pitching help to take the load off Ross Stripling and or Yusei Kikuchi in case he falls off the rails. Anyone else you get is also bonus, but you need that. And instead, we got Anthony Bass, Zach Pop, Mitchell White, whoever that is, and the artist formerly known as Whit Merrifield. Let's start with that one, because that's the one that makes the least sense to me, honestly. Whit Merrifield, in addition to being a washed-up, unvaxxed jerk who couldn't be bothered to get the vaccine because the Royals weren't going to be good enough to warrant him getting it for only a couple of games in Canada, it's that same kind of attitude, like, yeah, if the team was better, I'd go ahead and do this completely harmless thing. But they're not, so I can't be arsed. Yeah, that's a guy you definitely want to get before you even look at his stats line, which also isn't good. If this was the year 2017 or 2018, the idea of getting Whit Merrifield on this team would be very exciting. When he had the nickname of Hits Merrifield. The guy was just absolutely electric. Put the ball in play, decent gap-to-gap power, great speed, plays everywhere, plays every day, a really valuable player. Kind of like a middle infield-ish. He can sub in at first base, corner outfield. I think if he had to put a gun to his head, he could play center field. I'm not sure how well. But in 2022, Whit Merrifield, not to put too fine a point on it, sucks. I don't see the value of getting this guy on the team, especially since he seems to be a jerk to boot. I mean, this is a head scratcher. Now, the other moves do make some sense. Mitchell White, I was kind of like, what the hell? Why would we get this known? What? That guy doesn't solve any problems whatsoever. But I took a look at the Baseball Savant pages for both him and noted Blue Jay target Noah Syndergaard, who is certainly a much bigger name. And they were pretty close to identical. So it seems that by getting Mitchell White, we get a younger, more controlled version of Noah Syndergaard, who still might have more upside, as opposed to Noah, who is declining rapidly as we speak. So getting him might not have been the biggest prize it felt like in the first place, and we're paying a much lower acquisition cost to get Mitchell White. You pitched for the Dodgers, which makes me a little bit concerned that maybe we're getting fleeced a little bit here. But people kind of said the same thing when we acquired Ross Stripling from the Dodgers for Kendall Williams, who is now, I'm pretty sure, out of baseball. So, yeah, just because you're trading with Friedman doesn't necessarily mean you're getting fleeced, so I'm willing to wait and see on this one. It does check the box of starting pitching depth. Again, we don't need a big marquee name. We've got our 3 big marquee names. We just need a guy as Kikuchi insurance and or to take a little bit of load off of Stripling, and I think this does that, so that's fine. Now for our relievers that we got off of the Marlins, Anthony Bass and Zach Pop. First of all, welcome back, Anthony. You pitched really, really well when the Blue Jays were in exile, and it always kind of broke my heart that you didn't get a chance. Well, it didn't break my heart, honestly. I didn't think about it too much. But it was a shame that you didn't get a chance to actually pitch in Toronto while pitching for Toronto. Well, we're going to rectify that problem, believe you me. We kind of know what Anthony is. He's having an excellent year this year. Lots of control. Not a lot of swing and miss, but he puts the ball in play and not a lot of barrels, not a lot of hard contact. This guy's going to remind us a lot of, wait for it, Adam Simber. Yeah, maybe not with the delivery style. Anthony Bass is much more conventional in his delivery, but I think the results are going to look a lot like Adam Simber, which isn't too bad of a thing, really. If you're looking for bullpen depth, this is that. Now, Zach Pop might be closer to getting what we actually thought we were shopping for. This kid does throw hard, kind of like in the 97, 98 ballpark. He's apparently got one of the best sinkers in baseball, and they just didn't use it enough. Now, for whatever reason, their pitching approach didn't let him utilize that pitch to its full extent. If Pete Walker feels that he can bring the most out of this kid, he's got high upside potential with a lot of control, and he might be the closest thing to a high-velocity reliever that we have in this bullpen, non-Jordan Romano division. But, I mean, that's a lot of ifs. We're talking about all the reinforcements we're going to get for the rest of the year that isn't already inside the organization. And you're talking about if he can do this, if he can do that. Not exactly the security blanket that we were hoping for if we're going to have a long playoff run. In terms of the cost to get all these guys, I think the only name that is really going to hurt, I mean, Jordan Groshans is a guy that I've been dreaming on for a little while. We traded him to Miami to get the 2 relievers, but he's kind of stalled out. He's only 22 and already at AAA, so that's nice, but he has no power there whatsoever and seems like he might have been rushed a little bit to that level. I'm not really sure. It's possible that he ends up just being a AAA tweener or somebody who is not quite big league material. For the fact that Ross, who I think prospect hugs as every bit as much as the fans do, the fact that he was willing to let him go might be an indicator that they don't like the direction he's trending in and they're trying to sell high on him. Kind of like how they did with Austin Martin last year when acquiring Barrios. The only other name that really stuck out to me as being a loss is Nick Frasso. He's been a high-rising pitching prospect. He's a little bit of an overager and he has high relief risk, as in like there's a good chance that he ends up as a reliever, but that's not necessarily a bad thing either. Most relievers end up as failed starters, And almost every other organization seems to be able to pull fireballing relievers out of their ass, and the Blue Jays are the only ones who seem, well, not the only ones, obviously that's hyperbole, but it feels like a lot of other winning organizations can just pull those guys out of nowhere, whereas the Blue Jays version of those guys, Merriweather, Pearson, Zulueta, all end up getting hurt, so it's kind of like we have to go shopping for them at the deadline. It kind of puts us in an awkward position. So losing Frasso, who was might end up being like the 2024 version of that, where just kind of a guy who falls out of the tree is kind of, oh, we have this high leverage reliever just for free. Thank you. Losing him, that might end up costing us. Of course, he also might turn out to be nothing. I mean, there's no such thing as a pitching prospect, right? They're also volatile. They're also prone to injury. It's also unpredictable. It really is. So trading a guy who might be something for a guy who is something, yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. But the problem is that guy who is something is Whit Merrifield, who I don't remotely want on our team, and I'm ready for him to completely, like, find the fountain of youth, and maybe it was just a motivation thing, playing, he's just like a gamer and a guy who likes to win, and like, you know, playing for an organization that has clearly thrown in the towel and has for several years. Well, maybe he's just had no reason to get up in the morning, and now he does, and he'll rediscover his form, and everything will be fine. But if I was betting on that, I wouldn't bet on that. So based on what I think the team needs, I would give Ross, honestly, C- on this. Mitchell White is technically what we needed in terms of pitching depth, so fine. And honestly, if you hadn't picked up Whit Merrifield, that might have bumped the grade up a little bit, because, you know, Anthony Bass, we know, is a decent pitcher, and he's having the best year of his career right now, so ride that heat for as long as there is. Picking up Pop and White, who are both relatively young, lots of years of control, still some upside to mine there. I don't mind that at all. Not quite what was on the shopping list. It's kind of like ancillary needs here and doesn't quite give us the oomph for the back end that we need, but it's not nothing and it's not really a problem. But Merrifield, the guy sucks. Why are we going to give him a roster spot? And who's going to leave so that this absolute jerk who can't hit anymore is going to end up... That one, I don't want it. I don't want it. You lost a couple. You went from like a B to a C- right there, Ross, just with that move. Where you were on Twitter and like, oh, people expected more. I guess I'll just go get a Whit Merrifield just for... I don't know. Pretty middling. I'm a little bit disappointed. I like the new guys. I'm sure they'll be fine. I don't like Whit Merrifield. I hope that this was a late April Fool's prank or something. Anyway, Blue Jays play the Rays in about 20 minutes now, so I'll have something to watch while I edit this one. I'm all done for that. I feel like I've made my stance on this abundantly clear. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for watching this channel. Like and subscribe if you hadn't already. I will make another short one at the conclusion of this game and talk about it just a little bit, but, you know, 2 videos in one day. Whew, I'm already pooped just thinking about it. I will see you very briefly later on tonight. See you then.